So the last little while, Gary Baker and I have been working on a project for the Backstreet Boys. The guys celebrated the 20th anniversary of their biggest song, which is I Want It That Way. Iconic pop song, right? So here in a couple weeks, they are releasing a version of that song that we recorded here at our studio, which is like a new version of that song, played with kind of a acoustic band feel.
Super cool.
Yeah, it was obviously to take on a challenge of recording such an iconic song, a new version. I mean, the old version was done by Max Martin, and so
that's big shoes to
the
fill.
pressure to go back and record a new version of a song like that was, we definitely felt it. But Gary's had a long relationship with the Backstreet Boys. They've recorded songs of his along the way,
right?
So he knows those guys very well and friends, and so
yeah, Gary Baker. Just kind of for those of you that may or may not know who he is, he's songwriter, and is what he's mainly known for.
Yeah.
Wrote I Swear,
which was this town's biggest song ever.
I
Swear was the biggest song.
Without a doubt. I mean, but, All for One did that. John Michael. Not George Michael. I was going to say George Michael. John Michael Montgomery.
Even
did
the
that.
Smurfs have done it. Everybody's done it.
So, I mean, it's like that and maybe Don Von Tress's song that Billy Ray Cyrus, Achy Breaky Heart.
Achy Breaky Heart.
I mean, that would probably maybe be second in line because but I don't know if how close that even is. But yeah, he's most noted for that song.
Yeah.
So he's written. What was that really big
I'm
popular
Already There,
song?
which is a huge country song.
Lone Star.
Yep, Lone Star.
Man, fantastic song too. So I mean, he's known for some really big songs.
Yeah, huge songs. And so Gary produced this for the guys. And I recorded it and mixed it, just us, which is kind of crazy because most of their records have a lot of people involved, and we are super proud of it. It was just one of those projects that's just so honored to be able to work on a song like that's been so big for so long, so that comes out May 17th.
Yeah, and this will be a retrospective interview because it's, I'm recording these interviews for those of you that are listening. Thanks, by the way, in advance trying to build a catalog of interviews because I don't just do interviews every day.
So maybe when you hear this song, you would have been able to hear it for a few months.
Absolutely. So hopefully you'll be like, whoa, dude.
Hopefully it's doing well.
That song that's number one and whatever.
Cheers to the future, right?
Yeah, right.
So yeah, that project is cool because we did it all in this area. We did fly out some to do vocals, but some of the vocals were also done here. All of the track was done here, which was great to have a song like that done back in this town again, And so I think people kind of nowadays forget that so much of what happened in this area was just great songs, hit songs,
So much of what still happens in this town is great songs. Yeah. A lot of songwriters, even if they're working with publishing companies in Nashville or moved to Nashville. I mean, Buddy Killen Circle in Nashville. Buddy Killen's from Killen, Alabama, right outside Florence and the Shoals.
It all came back to the song,
right,
and that song has been such a huge song in the world for so long, and so it was really a blessing to be involved with that. And so I'm super proud of it.
You should be
proud of Gary's work, proud of my work. We're excited that again this area can have a huge project come out again, and so it's going to be great for us.
Absolutely. Well, I'm proud for you, man. I really am. That's really super cool.
Thank you.
I mean, because we all need those kind of moments where it's a very notable name that you've gotten a chance to work with, because otherwise people don't really get a chance to see how good you truly are.
Yeah.
So
I think everybody needs a little luck along the way, right? I mean, we all do. And so I'm thankful that maybe this was my luck. I'm still kind of waiting to see what happens with it, but it was definitely a project that I gave it everything I had, and I don't think there's anything about it I would change. So
that's awesome.
Which is not something I can say
that's what
all
I was going to say.
Yeah.
You listen to stuff you worked on a few years ago. It's like, oh no.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'll feel that way in a couple of years about it. I don't know, but
maybe not.
I still like it.
Well, I'm proud for you on that though. But I mean, it's like, this area has had a resurgence. I mean, it never really completely went away, but I know me personally, I'm working with a very varied, eclectic group of artists and bands and musicians, and a lot of songwriters. But I mean, everything from jazz to bluegrass to pop to you know rock, whatever. And I love it because it's really cool to see that there's that much growth.
Yeah, they're for a while.
Up.
For me, I think I went years without doing work for anybody locally. Like, didn't do anything. And the last 6 months, I've done probably more projects from this area than I have my whole career put together. And so I don't know what. I don't know if there's just more to choose from. There are more people doing work here. I'm not sure, but I'm super thankful that for me, I can name my business Muscle Shoals Mastering, and it means something.
And honestly, that was a low-hanging fruit. Why has no one done that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thankful.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it makes sense. I feel like there was a story there.
Well, it was a need. You saw, you had a skill, you saw the need, and you filled it.
I do want to say that I am thankful for the people that came before me to create a story here that I can name my business after the city and have it mean something.
Exactly.
And so I definitely want to give credit where credit's due.
Oh, yeah.
Because it definitely is nice to be able to name that because there's a story there, right? And people like a story.
Yeah, often people buy the story more than they buy the product or the service.
Yeah, and so if I'm going to name my company Muscle Shoals Mastering, then I've got to deliver the same quality, the same stuff that made this town successful. It was just great work, good songs, good playing, good producers, and so I'm trying to live up to all that. And so, yeah.
Who have been your biggest heroes and people that you have kind of looked up to, kind of, I don't want to say modeled yourself after, but
in the mastering world, it would have to be Greg Calby. I have been privileged over the years to actually attend several mastering sessions, and watching those guys work was so useful to me because I saw really how little they did. I mean, in terms of, it's not like they are using every piece of gear they have just because they have it. They are making decisions to what the project needs. And I think that that for me was such a learning process because when I first started out doing like kind of quasi mastering when I first started, it's like you just throw everything you got at it. You put on every multi-band, every EQ, every compressor you got to where your mix button, you're just full of plugins, right? Because you're mastering it and you have all these tools, so you might as well use them. But I screwed up many records doing that. You start to realize, like, you just do what's best for the song. If that's a half a dB of EQ and a couple of dB of limiting and print it, then that's what's needed. And so watching those guys work.
That's a skill in and of itself.
It is.
To know when not to do something and to not let your ego get in the way of the project.
Absolutely.
Because, like, hey, I've got this cool stuff. I want to use it. And knowing when not to, and knowing that takes skill, that takes time. Experience.
It does. I would say that was the thing that took me the longest to do, is to just, before you start grabbing for gear, just stop and listen. And evaluate what needs to happen and what doesn't need to happen.
Have you ever done a straight print? Like, if you ever got a mix so good that you've pretty much just done a transfer?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think I haven't had to use EQ before. There are a couple that I'm like, I'm not going to touch this. I just need to adjust the level to have it fit in with the rest of the record. Small volume adjustments usually kind of have to happen, but I've definitely done some flat EQ transfers for sure. That doesn't happen a ton, but
dude, that's awesome though. Yeah. That's like the mixing engineers. Woohoo!
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you just, because you have all these tools, the tools are there. I mean, you don't, if you think about it, kind of dumb it down and think about your tool collection at home, your hammers, your drills.
Right.
You don't use all that stuff for every time you want to hang a picture on the wall.
Right.
It's like you do you use the tools you have when you need them.
The discernment is something. In our world, we geek out on equipment and gear and technology and all of that. And, my hero uses this, and therefore I need to use this. Yeah. And we get all in that. And the internet forums and all that. Hey, you need to do this for this result.
Well, I think I've often wondered on like the internet forums. It's like there's so many people that just write all day. I'm like, do you? Are you working?
Are you working? And the answer to that is probably not.
Probably not. But I'm always constantly making sure that what I'm doing, there's like there's a couple different types. There's like mastering where I'm just doing a single, and then there's mastering where you're doing a whole album.
Yeah.
And so you have to make sure that's why you have to evaluate the project and see across the board what needs to happen, because all the songs have to fit in together.
Right. Let me ask you this, in the terms of streaming being such a way that people access music, what is your target? I mean, like, I know you're iTunes certified, but do you mix specifically for iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, Tidal?
Nope.
Or do you have kind of a happy medium that makes all of those happy?
Yeah, I try to find the happy medium. And what I do, if I'm mastering the project, I just don't feel we're to the point of doing all these different targeted masters for all these different it's changed. Not everybody clicks on the option to play back everything at the same level. Some people do, some people don't. Some people don't even know that's there. And so I just don't feel like we're at that point where there's like a standard volume level for streaming. I mean, there's suggestions, there's ideas, there are things you can do, but I just don't feel like we're to the point where, okay, I'm doing a YouTube master, a Spotify master, a iTunes master, a CD. We're not there yet. And so I'm not concerned with that. The projects that I've mixed that have gone to big mastering engineers, don't seem to be concerned with that either.
Well, it's kind of chasing the wind concept too, because it changes so much.
Yeah, I mean,
once you figure it out, they've moved on to a different algorithm.
If you're saying, okay, for Spotify, we want to deliver a -14 LUFS file, well, what happens if they change that in 6 months? Your master is now at a different volume than their current target. It's like, until there's some kind of one size fits all for streaming, I just don't think we're there yet in terms of doing all these different masters.
So you pretty well think in terms of generalized streaming, download, and what CD I do, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, what I do is I load in. I have like a session that I keep. One track on has like 15 different reference songs, just like a minute of each song. They're all kind of cut up, and I import that into like every mastering session that I work on, and I'll just occasionally just flip back to that reference track, and whatever's playing, I just kind of skim around. Because you don't want to just reference against one song, other song. You want to reference against kind of a group, a kind of average sum, right?
Right.
And so I feel like you can kind of chase your tail if you're just referencing one song, like against one other song. Mm-hmm. So I found if I have a pool of songs, I kind of just take the average, right? And so in terms of like volume, that kind of stuff. And so I'm not as concerned about the different levels for all these different streaming stuff, because if my master just kind of fits in with everything else in terms of volume, I feel like we're kind of right where we need to be.
Yeah. Have you seen this thing, website called loudnesspenalty.com?
I've heard about that, and
it's actually pretty cool. Yeah. Like, they've got a plugin out I've actually thought about getting, because it lets you know you upload your thing, but the plugin, you don't have to upload it. Just click and drag is what it is on the website, and it's free. Yeah. But the plugin's like $50. But it's like, here's how much Spotify, YouTube, and whatever is gonna limit your song.
Yeah.
And I took one of the songs, I think it was Cyanide, off of Metallica's Death Magnetic, because I love Andrew Sheps. He's awesome. But he self-admittedly is like, I listened to an interview with him a while back. He's like, okay, I think I kind of won the loudness war.
I'd say so.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Now let's go back and make music.
Yeah.
And it's a good record, except, man, good God. It's like, if you look at the file, I loaded it in Pro Tools just because I wanted to see how squared off everything was.
Yeah.
Because you can hear the square waves.
Yeah.
It's flat.
Yeah.
It is literally flat.
Meter to move the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, wow, this is crazy. I was worried that one of my mixes was too loud, and it was like Spotify was gonna lower it like 1.2 dB or something, which is not too bad.
Yeah. But
that one was like 11 dB.
Well, -14 LUFS is pretty low. All right, it's a pretty low target, right? So,
right.
I mean, if I mastered a song with -14 LUFS and sent it to you, you would say, what are you doing? It's like, it's so low. I mean, it's just not, it definitely would not hold up if that version was to get played with it would definitely have to be a Spotify only thing, right? Because that would not hold up against other stuff.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, and it's thinking about it in context. And LUFS is, I can't remember what the acronym.
It's just a
loudness
it's just a
unit something.
It's just a measurement for volume, basically, in dumb terms.
I can't remember the exact loudness unit something, whatever. Anyway, doesn't matter. But I was like, wow, that's going to be turned down a lot by everybody.
Yeah.
And their limiting is not going to be as good as yours in the studio. And, like radio, for instance. I mean, certain radio stations just multi-band compress, just squash.
That's why I think, I think in general, I'm not pushed to make as loud of masters as I was even a few years back. Now I haven't been doing this
that's
super
kind
long,
of people have kind of chilled out about that.
Pop music's still pretty loud. I mean, I'm not getting
much. Country and all that. Yeah, it is. But I wonder if that's attributed a little bit to the rise of the sale of vinyl because more people are used to listening.
Yeah, I don't know
to that, and maybe it's like, okay, we did that. Now let's
make some music that doesn't hurt your ears.
Yeah, we did the thing now, so let's go back.
I mean, people are not at the point where, at least my clients, are not really taking risks and it still needs to fit in with other stuff. We're not to that point, but I'm just not being pushed over the top.
It's certain records like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Californication is stupid loud.
Yeah.
But production songs, that's my favorite record of theirs. I just wish I had one that wasn't so brick wall limited that I could listen to and it not fatigue my ears.
That's why when I make a vinyl master and doing a little less limiting on the vinyl master, those masters are always so fun to listen to because it's more if there's any limiting, it's very little.
Yeah.
And so,
if you have it too loud for vinyl, because if you send it too loud, it's going to jump out of the grooves. If you get too much bass, it's going to jump out of the groove.
Yeah.
Especially in the sides, like if the bass or you got sibilance, that's a real big problem in
of
vinyl.
Course, sibilance is a problem in digital too. So
it is. Well, it just sounds bad.
So there's some things you would say we want to change for vinyl, but you'd also probably still want to change them for digital too.
Yeah.
And so,
that's one of the main things is a lot of the decision making for a physical reproduction of that song for vinyl end up being musical decisions.
Sure. I'd say probably 25% of the products I master are also going to vinyl.
That's a pretty good percentage.
It's been a lot lately.
That's a big percentage.
The last few months has driven that percentage up.
How much of your stuff does not go to CD? I mean, is there much of it that goes just...
I don't even know that.
Just download?
I would say probably, yeah. I mean, because there's less and less people asking for the DDP image.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer. I don't know how the final outcome of some of these
That would be
records
interesting to
turn
know, though, because I still love CDs, and I don't really think they're going away, or at least not for a while.
It is depressing to walk down the music aisle like in Target if there's not much of one anymore.
I know. That is so sad. But it's kind of exciting that there's a vinyl section now.
Yeah.
At Target.
Yeah.
That trips me out.
And people are probably buying them and going home and listening to them in their turntable that's got these little built-in speakers, and they're saying that
it doesn't sound as good.
They've
got a record player that shall not be named that just basically digs into the record.
Yeah. I mean, so there's there's people who actually appreciate that for what it is, and there's people who do it because it's kind of a fad,
Yeah.
So,
hey, man.
just like everything.
Yeah. So while we're kind of alluding to it, what are your thoughts on the future of the music industry? Where do you, on the mastering side of things, where are you seeing any trends?
Let me think about it. That's a tough question. From the mastering perspective, I would probably say that number of 25% vinyl will probably hold pretty strong. It seems like I said, the last few months, it's been pretty high with the vinyl mastering. So maybe that's something that we'll see continue for a while. I don't know how long that's going to hold on, I
don't know that vinyl's going away.
I don't know if it's going away.
Because if you look throughout history, it's stood the test of time over every format.
Yeah. We'll just see how it goes in terms of people. It seems like now so many people are doing it. We'll just see how it unfolds. But in terms of mastering, I hope that we can maybe clear up some of this whole streaming audio levels and stuff like that to make, there seems to be a lot of confusion with that. You know, even from a lot of mastering engineers, like, I don't know, I'm not sure what we're going to do about this. So maybe there's some sort of way to figure out the best way to handle streaming platforms. And as a more of a technical thing, it would be nice moving forward, because everything is streaming and digital now, for album credits to be known. And that's a big bummer for us, right? Because we work off of word of mouth and people see our names on stuff. And so, but do people see our names on stuff anymore? No.
Right.
And online databases are severely inaccurate. Mine is. I mean, it's like,
because I did an interview with a guy the other day, and he's like, "That's false news. I didn't work with that guy. I'd be glad if I did, but I didn't."
I mean,
I was like, "Oh man,
there's no like great way to do that anymore." And you know, I know most people don't care about stuff like that, but I care, and it's nice to be able to see, for me to be able to see, okay, who played on what, who produced what. And that's kind of nitpicky, but I feel like it would help. It would be nice for people to be able to see who worked on stuff. And you know, there are people trying to come up with ways to enter that stuff in. I think there are some people working on that. I just don't think it's quite gotten there yet.
Yeah, but I'm hopeful for that. I think it'll work itself out. Yeah. Things usually do.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have a routine, like say a morning routine or whatever, that kind of, because I mean we're both self-employed with this, right? So there's no I have to be there at a certain time, and if you're not tracking, you don't have clients showing up. Yeah. So you have to show up for yourself, really. Yeah. So do you have something that helps you get going with that, and you know, maybe a list of things that kind of helps you with your process with achieving like the best results? So
being self-employed, as you know, doing this job is rewarding and also severely discouraging sometimes. Being self-employed is a hard life.
It is.
And so there are things that I start most mornings at the gym doing some sort of physical activity to help clear my mind, help burn away stress, just because that whole like self-employment thing is difficult. And you don't really know how much money you're going to make. You don't really know, right? Just being honest, like we don't really know month to month if you're self-employed.
Right.
And so to kind of combat some of that just anxiety, I go work out. I have 3 kids at home. So I get up, I'm getting my kids ready for school with my wife. We're packing lunches, getting kids ready for school, trying to get out the door, you know, trying to have some resemblance of a normal routine. But I have to have some me time too, right? So I go to the gym, I go to the coffee shop, have my Americano, ease into my morning, the first hour of my morning if I can. Get to the studio, put on some music for about 10 or 15 minutes, just kind of pick a record, pick something random, just to kind of get the ears warmed up a little bit.
Just listening to something that you just want to listen to?
I just want to listen to that I like.
See, I've started doing that too, because I found out that it kind of, my ears get a little warmed up. I'm tuned into the speakers. It's a project that sounds great. Yeah. So I already start my day off comparing to great sounds.
Sure.
And that kind of hypes me a little.
For me, one of my go-to like just ear warm-up songs projects is John Mayer's Continuum record. One of the best sounding records I think there's ever been made.
It is so good.
So that
one of my favorites.
That really gets me going. And I have a playlist of just some stuff I'll just listen to for a few minutes to warm up, dive in, and usually I'm gone by 5 every day. I don't do much night working anymore. Don't do much because if I'm working for 6 or 7 hours of listening, I just got nothing left. You know, my ears are done.
Yeah, my threshold at this point is about 6 hours.
Yeah.
Do you take breaks?
I do.
I've gotten to where I set an alarm for maybe 20 or 25 minutes sometimes, and I'll get up, go walk around.
Yeah, if your ears are not fresh, you're probably making decisions you don't want to make.
Yeah, I'll go walk out and look at the river for a minute and just get away from it, you know.
Yeah. That's kind of my routine, give or take, most mornings.
So you're using the Slate Raven touchscreen.
I do.
In what way does that help you? I mean, obviously you can reach up. For those of you that don't know what that is, the Slate Raven is Stephen Slate, you know, does all the plugins and a lot of cool stuff, but it's a touchscreen, you know, where you can reach up and turn a knob.
My room, I do recognize, is not the most traditional looking mastering room, right? You've seen it. It doesn't have a traditional mastering look. I got the Raven when I moved into a different room, I've been feeling the need to be in the music more than just using a mouse, right? Use my hand. I'm not using a bunch of analog stuff. I'm mostly in the box. So I did want a way to kind of connect with stuff, use my hands, make better decisions. And the Raven definitely takes my hand off the mouse, puts it on the screen, and lets me actually, touch these EQs, compressors.
Yeah.
And I think by taking my hand off the mouse and actually touching those plugins makes me, make better decisions, more thought out decisions, because I'm actually moving my hands on the gear.
That definitely helps me, especially in mixing, and tracking, but especially in mixing where I'm more instinctual.
Yeah.
Like if I'm automating something, I'm less timid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you literally feel it.
You do have that hands-on connection, and that's definitely helped me. In mastering, it's kind of the same thing, even if I'm making more kind of minor adjustments, still making them with my hand, and so it's kind of that personal kind of touch that just helps me think more clearly, get my hand off the mouse. That's really how it's beneficial for me.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that you've done that you've learned from in this process?
The biggest mistakes, I think I touched on it kind of earlier, is just throwing a whole bunch of processing at mixes when they don't need it. That was number one.
One of the things for me personally has been pricing. I priced myself too low, and people stopped booking me for a few years ago.
Yeah.
Just like it was a perception thing, and I went back to where my prices were before and have since gone up from that. The too low of a price scared people off.
The too low is definitely a problem, and I'm on the verge of maybe raising my mastering rates just a little bit. You definitely can underprice yourself if you're doing valuable work.
That's hard to make yourself get up in the morning and go do, too.
It is.
So your work suffers.
Your work suffers. You're kind of mentally frustrated while you're working on it because you feel like you're not getting paid what you deserve. And so you're...
Right. So you end up doing, I can only speak for myself, you end up doing that level of work because it's like, well, that's all they're paying for.
Yeah. At the same time, it's like, just because you're getting less money, do you not do good work because they're only paying you for that?
Right. You have to bring your A game every time.
If I'm going to take on anything, if I agree to do it, I'm going to give my best. So I find myself getting just frustrated. That
I end up being resentful toward the client. And
I've taken this on. If I divide what I'm getting paid by the hour, it's like,
oh yeah, don't ever do that.
I just kind of like
I made that mistake. I'm like $5 an hour.
Yeah, like I found like doing friend rates, doing that kind of stuff. It's just not helpful. I think Reed Shippen had a good quote on his Instagram the other day, and I'm gonna try to pull it up so I can find it and say it because it was like it's dealing with the whole pricing thing, and people are always looking for a deal, right?
Yeah, Reed's awesome.
Yeah, here's what he says, and he got it from somebody else. He says, "My prices are based on my talent, not your budget."
Yeah.
I think that people always want a deal. They always want to do work as cheap as you can, but you have to draw the line and stand somewhere.
Well, you've got to be able to take care of your family and eat and pay mortgage.
It's not a hobby. It's a job.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, Reed's awesome too. Him and Pete Lyman, I've been to their studio.
Yeah, great engineers.
Yeah, they share a space. They're both incredible.
They do great work.
They're both incredible at what they do. Mm-hmm. What is some of the best advice you've received and acted on?
Well, just from a broad music standpoint, Gary really engraved in my head that the first most important thing is a great song. That's his background, right? So it all starts with a great song. Mm-hmm. And people that contact me for mixing and stuff like that, if they have not recorded yet and they say stuff like, we think we're ready to start making the record. We're not sure. We're about to start, but we still need some songs. I'm like, get that part right, because that's what's the most important part.
Right.
A good song holds up no matter what. Right. So
yeah, you can record it on your phone and it still can connect.
It still moves people. And so I always encourage people to just, get the best songs you can possibly get, because it makes everybody's job easier. You as a mixer or mastering or tracking, you obviously get excited when you hear a good song.
Well, when it comes time to you go to mastering, you track it, you book a studio, you record the songs, they're written, you send it to mixing, you send it to mastering, you send it off to duplication, whatever CD, vinyl, whatever you're doing. Your work has just begun at that point, because you've got to play shows, you've got to tour, you've got to promote it, you've got to market. One of the things I have noticed, especially in terms of vinyl, has been because it is so much more expensive, it takes time to press those records.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And there's a waiting list.
Huge waiting list.
So it's a lot more intentional. You're like, well, because it costs a lot more to do this and it takes a lot more time.
Yeah.
These things take up space. We've got to physically do something with them.
Yeah.
A lot of reasons. People tend to be more prepared. They tend to pick better songs, in my opinion. It's like if you're recording to tape. They tend to have their A game on a little more than, let's just do 10 playlists for a vocal and we'll comp it.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but
sure.
If there's money on the table and time on the table, it tends to, in my experience, get people to make decisions.
Yeah.
And be more prepared.
Absolutely.
If you know it's going to, man, I've got $10 in this record, and I've got to sell it for at least that to even break even on this. So to make any money, we've got to sell it for 15 or whatever.
Yeah, I think just back to your question too is like my advice for kind of people interested in mastering and kind of maybe just trying to get started out would be to just always. I know it sounds stupid to say this, but listen first. Before you do any decisions about what needs to happen, listen. Because it's often, I mean, you probably have had this happen too. It's like sometimes you chase these things and it's like you stop 30 minutes later and realize I hadn't even been listening to the song for 30 minutes. I've been focused on a snare drum, something that now doesn't even really fit in because I hadn't even listened to the song.
Yeah, you listen in solo, and how many people buy a record of a snare drum?
The audience doesn't hear a snare drum. They hear a song.
Right, exactly.
That's the big thing. And so it applies to mastering. It's just, and again, we harp on it, but do what's best for the song. It's not about gear.
Exactly.
It's about that project. It's about doing what's best for that project.
Exactly.
And so,
exactly. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Well, I've had, clients be like, hey, do you master? Because mastering, it's like you're a Jedi.
Well, nobody knows what it is.
Yeah, it's a term that sounds like you're better than something else, but it's really mastering, in a nutshell, is preparing something. It's the final stage of preparing for whatever format.
Sure.
Really. Yeah. To make it best for that format.
Yeah.
It's essentially the sprinkles on the ice cream. You know, it's the final touch, But I've had people ask me before, and not to be dishonest, but like, hey, do you master? And it's like, the conversation, you engage it. Like,
what they're asking.
And it's like, I can make it radio ready. I can make it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But at that point, I find myself, if it's a client that's someone who you can tell they're really serious about it, they're just not educated about the terminology and what it is, I'll take that moment to try to educate. Okay, you really need to consider sending this to a mastering engineer.
Yeah.
It will cost this, or this. Here's a list of people, and here's what they do.
Yeah.
I do this at this stage. Here, this is another stage of the process.
Yeah. Part of what you're paying is a fresh perspective.
Yeah. Another set of ears, another set of speakers, another room.
Yeah.
You're getting someone who's never heard the song before. I think that's huge.
The perspective is huge.
Because in mix land, you're spending a lot more time than the mastering guy is usually.
Yeah.
Or you would hope so, because if you're having to spend that much time on a song, your mix is sucking. Yeah. Point being, they've not lived with that song. They've not sat there with that snare drum and solo trying to figure out what's going on. And they've not dug into they're listening. It's kind of the old adage of you can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes you get bogged down so much into details, you lose a certain point. There's a certain point where
they're not married to that project.
You no longer have you lose perspective.
Yeah.
And aside from putting it away for a couple months and forgetting some of it, there's no way to really have a new instinctual fresh perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that I think is probably more valuable than anything.
Absolutely.
Having someone that has great speakers
and has the experience to know what to do in any scenario.
Yeah, knows how to listen for those very minute things.
I mean, even when I'm mixing a record, and if the budget is there for another person to master that I like, that's how the process should work. And I always ask people, is the budget there to go to a Greg Calby or Brad Blackwood or Pete? Is it there? Can we do this? Because the process works the best when that happens.
Yeah, and I find myself a couple times have recommended some people like, hey, let's encourage them away from doing a full record to maybe a 4, 5, 6 song EP and putting that money toward marketing and promotion and mastering and actually making the project
the best it can be.
The best it possibly can be. And once it's done, being able to tell people about it.
Sure.
Because there's nothing worse than having a great record that no one's ever going to hear because they don't know about it.
Yeah.
You spent all your money on the recording and all of that. Now you have nothing left to promote.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that sucks for everybody. Because, I mean, again, word of mouth, it's beneficial to me and you for people to know that this band's record's out there.
Sure, it's a huge part.
Well, cool. Let me ask you this and we'll wrap it up. How can people find out more about you? How can they follow you?
I'm on all the social media, Instagram at Muscle Shoals Mastering. Website is muscleshoalsmastering.com. We also do a free sample master that's available from the website. So if you're a new client that I haven't worked with, a producer, artist, band, whatever, and you are at the end and you're trying to make a mastering decision, we'll do a free sample for you and you can submit that from the website. We take it, master it just like we normally would, send you back a big snippet of the song. No risk. If you don't like it, no big deal. If you do like it and want to move forward, we're happy to move forward. But that's all available from the website. You can email me from the website if you need to, and I'm happy to take on new people and love meeting new folks. And the chance to work with new people and talk with new people is always a plus. So that's how you can find me.
Well, cool, man. Thanks again, Chris
Absolutely,
Bethea.
man.
And,
Thank you.
It's been a joy, man. I'm looking forward to this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to everybody listening, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
All right. See you guys.
Man, I hope you guys enjoyed this interview with Chris Bethea as much as I have. It's great chatting with a friend. We've known each other since college, and he's an excellent mixing and mastering engineer. If you need any work done, hit him up. Again, follow us on social media and leave us a rating and a review. We're also on most streaming platforms. And check us out. We'll see you in the next episode. Stay groovy.